had a recording in several months, and it is the middle of July. So what better food to make on the hottest day of the year than Grandma Joyce's chicken and dumplings? I'm just kidding. It's more of a comfort food that's like really good for a fall night, but we're gonna make it today because I have a special guest here with us today to celebrate her 70th birthday. She came to us. We are so lucky, and that's our one and only Grandma Joyce. This is her favorite recipe, which is why we are making it today, and she is actually going to join us and be our sous chef. So, Grandma Joyce, come on over.
Hello everyone. Yes, I'm going to critique Kelly in making the chicken and dumplings.
You mean Miss McDonald?
Kelly's.
It's Miss McDonald to you,
Oh.
Kelly to her. So anyways, this is my mom's favorite recipe. How many years have you been making this recipe?
Probably, I'd say at least 20 years, maybe
20
more.
years. And every time we go down to visit Grandma Joyce, she makes this recipe. So it's pretty simple. We already cooked an entire chicken. So a whole chicken, cooked the entire thing for about 45 minutes in a big stock pot. I'll show you that in a minute. And seasoned it with some salt and pepper. Put it on a medium-high heat, 45 minutes. So you want to make sure that you check the internal temperature of the chicken breast, making sure that it doesn't touch any bone. With a thermometer, it should say 165, and you know it's fully cooked. After it's fully cooked, let it cool a little bit on a cooling board so you don't burn your fingers, and then you're basically going to tear away all of the meat from the bone, and you're only going to use the chicken. And Grandma Joyce just did this a couple minutes ago. So our chicken's already cooked and ready to go. That goes into the broth at the end. So simple ingredients. The only thing that you need is basically 3 cups of flour, a 3/4 teaspoon of salt, 3/4 teaspoon of the baking powder, which is going to be your leavening agent, and then 1/4 cup of shortening. This is not a healthy recipe. This kind of food is going to put meat on your bones. So this is every once in a while type of food. It's a comfort food, which we are known for making in Southern Illinois. So this will be really good. 1 cup of milk. And that's basically all you need. A little bit of spices. We're gonna put these in at the end. I'll get back to you on that. So we're gonna go ahead and add our 3 cups of flour in a large mixing bowl, and then the 3/4 teaspoon of salt. Now, Grandma Joyce, you wanna do the honors and stir?
Sure, love to.
And then 3/4 teaspoon of our baking powder. Pour that in. And once that's incorporated, we're going to add our shortening. 1/4 cup of shortening, and then we're actually using the biscuit method. So there's 2 basic methods to making quick breads. That's the muffin method and the biscuit method. The biscuit method uses the pastry blender to cut the shortening into the flour mixture. You want to do that? So you're going to cut in the shortening until it's incorporated, kind of pea-size, looks kind of grainy like cornmeal would, and then we're going to add our milk. So after you add your milk, you're going to stir with a spoon or a fork rather than the biscuit cutter. Or excuse me, the pastry blender. Generously flour our countertop for our dumplings, and then you're basically going to stir the dough until you can't stir anymore, and then you're going to have to use your hands. So once you get it kind of formed into a ball, take it and put it out onto your countertop, and you're only going to throw this in there. You're only gonna knead just a few times, all right? There's no need to knead with quick breads too much. It will end up tasting like hockey pucks. Excuse me, hockey pucks. How's that, Mom?
Looks good.
Excellent. You want to flour the rolling pin?
Sure do.
And then roll that out.
Gently roll it till you have it thin, because once you put it in the broth, they'll flake up. And you can let them set just for a little bit. Once you have it to the thickness you want, and let it set for a little bit, because they may shrink up, and then you can turn around and roll it a little bit more.
Looks great. So you let it set for just a little bit and then
See if it shrinks up, which you can tell it's starting to shrink just a little bit. And then you want to also check underneath here to make sure, and which is great. You have flour. It's very important that you have flour under the dough, so that whenever that little bit of flour, you can also put in your broth, or it'll come with the dumplings. You put that in and it'll make your broth thicker.
all right, Mom, why don't you go ahead and cut it, and then while she's cutting it, or after she's finished, I'm going to use my bench scraper, and I love using this for my dumplings because you can easily pick the dumplings up off the countertop with a little bit of flour, because that flour makes it kind of like a hearty stew. And then we'll put it in our big stock pot full of broth that we cooked the chicken in earlier. You want to make sure that you keep that broth. Don't throw it away, okay? Because that's going to add so much flavor to the stock of your dumplings, and it's going to have just an incredible taste. Alright, so once you have your dumplings cut into little squares, you're going to drop them very gently into the broth. The broth hasn't started boiling yet, but it's on about a medium-high heat. And then once you add them, add a little bit of the flour so that it thickens. You want to make sure that you're stirring.
It is best if you have a helper, so that whenever the cook is dropping the dumplings in, someone will be stirring so that the dumplings do not stick together, which is what I'm doing for Miss McDonald right now.
So now we have had our dumplings cooking for about 5 minutes. It still needs about 15 minutes of cook time, but we're gonna add a little bit of vegetables. If you wanna add some carrots or some celery to your broth, to your chicken at the very beginning to make sure they're super, super tender, you could do that. Or you could add already cooked, like canned or frozen peas. We have some organic frozen peas that I had left over. We're just going to add those. And then Grandma Joyce is going to add a little bit of parsley, a little bit of garlic powder. If you have adobo, the chicken flavor, add some of that. That is some good stuff. And then this is something I just recently found. It's called Better Than Bouillon. So it's like chicken bouillon. You just use a couple teaspoons of it. 1 teaspoon equals 1 bouillon cube. It's a little bit better for you because bouillon cubes do have a ton of salt, but this just reduces a little bit of the sodium. So probably about 3 little ones of those.
is to place the chicken in the broth and let it cook with the dumplings. And let it cook a little while. And there you go. Be sure and stir the chicken and let them cook then. For, I'd say, for probably possibly another 10 minutes. And then you can turn your burner off and let them set, and that creates the dumplings to become a little more tender.
Hey, Grandma Joyce. Grandma Joyce, what do you suggest that we serve with our chicken and dumplings? Like, what should we put it on?
I would put it on, if it's great if you have like a bowl to eat.
What about mashed potatoes?
Is that what you're looking for? I don't know what you're looking for. Cut that down.
Oh my goodness. Serve it with some mashed potatoes. It's so good. On a bed of mashed potatoes, it's like mashed potatoes and gravy and biscuits.